Hello and welcome to a special VFL this weekend. Going to have a bit of a chat about the 2026 regs. I promise it won't be boring. We're going to check out what's right, what's wrong, how I think we can improve it. It's not going to be a long one. I want a few comments. Please like and subscribe this. Here we go. Okay, so with 3 races in and a sprint race, we've got the whole of April off now due to, unfortunate circumstances over, in Iran and everything, and it not being safe for Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. So it's time to maybe take a step back and see what's right and what's wrong with 2026. There is not an argument to say that the racing hasn't been better. It has been fascinating. It has been thrilling, but as me and Anthony have said on the channel, is it still the pinnacle of motorsport? There's a few things that are starting to creep in that are just stopping it from happening. Main thing that I think that's wrong is the over-reliance on the battery power. The super clipping, as I spoke about on a Phil Explains the other week. This was proven by George Russell being passed by Charles Leclerc in Japan because he'd run out of battery. This happened. The massive accident that Ollie Bearman suffered, because Colapinto was going up to 50 kilometres an hour slower. Qualifying has become a joke. Charles Leclerc said it is the fastest in corners, is the fastest on the accelerator out of corners. He loses it all on the straight. Now, that's not to say that the team that's winning have done the best job ever with their engine, but even the Mercedes is losing power around corners. These incredible corners that we've got, like 130R and, most of the Melbourne circuit is a thriller. The chicane around the back of the track, it's fast. It's frightening. But the cars are slowing down before it. There's an easy fix to this, really, isn't there? Get rid of that reliance. We're pushing towards... There's better solutions out there. We all pray and, hope for the day that V12s come back. It won't happen, unfortunately. But we don't need 50% battery power. This is not Formula E or Formula 0.5e. This is Formula 1. Yes, hybrids are the future. Yes, I get the 1.6 litre engines. They sound quite good this year. But too much reliance on battery, too much on recharging, too much about if you use boost or the overtake, button one lap, you're stuck the lap after. Again, it promotes great racing, but qualifying has become a farce. And you can see a lot of the drivers, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc has complained about it. Is it true racing? Not particularly. This isn't the pinnacle anymore. And I just think get rid of the over reliance. 25% battery. Let's get back to a bit of meat, bit of bark. Let's hope someone listens to me. I can't see them doing, but things need to change. Things do need to change. Everyone has criticised it, and even Mercedes have called out a little bit, and they're the ones who've got this engine right. Let's not forget. Starts are wrong, aren't they? I mean, even if Ferrari fan, I love the starts of these Grand Prix at the moment. Let's be honest, especially because Ferrari seem to make up more places than anyone else, but they've become slightly dangerous. I, for one, I'm not complaining. I'm not saying that we change this, especially because Ferrari have got it right. I actually agree with Freddie Vassar's stance that the procedures do not need to be changed. Ferrari did a better job. Now, to say that it doesn't ruin the spectacle, because Ferrari seem to be competitive, they get in the way. Even the McLarens at Japan had a great start. But it's all fake now. The fact that you can hear them revving and, Anthony went on about it's like a cat orgy. It's not a nice sound. Formula 1, I'll let you into a little secret. I think 1990 was the first time me and Anthony went to Silverstone. Far younger than I am now. But when a car went past you, you felt like you'd gone deaf. It was one of those, this is the greatest sound I will ever hear. If I'm going to go deaf, this is the last thing I want to hear. And now nothing. And it's impacting our sport. When you're in revving and you that's no doubt that'll be a clip that's on Instagram later. You're welcome. It's not the true noise. They have to be louder, more powerful. but it does add to the entertainment slightly, and this is where I'm struggling with this, because F1 2026 has been a great spectacle, but there are flaws with the system. I love this new active aero, by the way. This is one thing I wouldn't change. I think this is fascinating. I actually enjoy the racing. I love that the wings open. A little bit of me says Enzo Ferrari would be rolling in his grave right now, because aerodynamics were for people who couldn't build engines, and unfortunately there seems to be a bit of an over-reliance on a battery power, not an engine. Yeah, ironic really, isn't it? I think another thing that's not been picked up on much, but I do think has caused a massive impact, is Pirelli seems to have gone a bit soft on the tyre choice. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. It was very aggressive, a lot of their tyre choices originally. You know, when they first came into the sport, you were guaranteed 2 stops, 3 stops maybe at some tracks. They seem to have gone a little soft. Now, I know that the amount of torque that these F1 cars produce and the speed they come out of those corners at now with this battery, additional battery power is frightening. But I think we should take gambles. I think we should take risks. I mean, no one wants to see punctures, ruining a race or impacting, an outcome. But who remembers Silverstone when Hamilton won it with 3 wheels because he had a puncture? I don't want to risk safety, please don't get me wrong, but that was thrilling. It was, can you get those tyres to the end? Everything looks a little bit safe now. I don't want safe, I want... that sounds wrong, doesn't it? I do want safe, I want exciting, I want entertainment, I want the drivers pushed to the very edge, I want the drivers on the limit, and if the limit is slightly beyond them, then they run off the track, or they get a puncture, or something happens, This goes back to, I don't know if any of you were watching last year. I do hope you were, and if you were and you haven't subscribed, please do. But we were talking about the old school tracks being better than the new school tracks because the runoff was not dangerous, but it punished you. I think the drivers are getting it too easy. I think there's an over-reliance, like I said, on battery power. And I think the tyres are just going to run to the end. I mean, let's be honest. Australia proved it. Ferrari got it right everywhere, I believe. They didn't pit for the first safety car because they didn't know how long the tyres would last. Lo and behold, the tyres lasted forever and a day. Miami scares me. Good God, it's an awful track. Miami scares most people, don't they? It's never had a good race in its life. But can you imagine that long straight out of the chicane, down the back towards the last kind of section of corners? Cars are going to drop about 30 kilometres an hour, and again I'm going back to the super clipping, again I'm going back to whinging about the engine, but I don't think there's much else wrong with F1 2026. I think the racing has been fantastic. I think the way the cars are structured now, there has been overtaking moves in places that you did not see beforehand. Let's talk about, again I'm being slightly biased, Leclerc on Russell the weekend just gone in Japan. What a move, and that's what we want. I mean, what's going to happen with these cars when it's wet? Who knows? I mean, the amount of torque they've got, this could completely change the show again. I think there's an overemphasis. Sorry, to defend Formula One now, you got to take both sides of the coin, and I've had my say. I think we should go back to more reliance on horsepower. Let's be noisier, let's be louder, let's not focus on the battery power. Let's go. Turbos are fine, and let's go. Renewable fuels, or completely synthetic fuels, like Vettel was saying. That's the way forward, not battery. Anyway, to go back to what I was saying, to defend Formula One now and to defend these new regulations, the engine is being over-exaggerated, it's over-emphasised with the fact that Aston Martin can't get round a lap without someone, losing a filling because of the vibrations. It means Honda have done a bad job. Or it means that the requirements of Aston Martin, along with Honda, have turned into it's a dog. It's horrible. So that's one engine straight out the window, and not competing for wins. We said at the very start of the season, in practice, we were impressed with Red Bull and the way they turned up and the work Ford have done with them. but they've fallen by the wayside. It looks like, Alpine are a prime example. Anyone who's running a Mercedes engine, and this isn't a dig at the Orange team, or Mercedes or anything like that. Anyone who's got a Merc engine is at an advantage right now. You can tell that by the way the Alpine's performing, which is fantastic to see because Pierre Gasly deserves that. Briatore doesn't, but we'll move on from that before I get myself in trouble. And Ferrari have gone a completely different way, and they've gone for the smaller turbo, which means they're faster off the line, and they're quite quick out of certain areas. But it all boils down to, at the end of the straight, the Mercedes has more power, but even the Mercedes is super clipping. Now, if you can't get down a straight without the car braking for you, then it's not exciting. We don't want one pedal driving. I drive an EV. It's okay at times. I miss having a manual gearbox and an engine that makes a noise, rather than the Millennium Falcon with a cold that I've got outside. But the one foot pedal braking is a great idea. The one pedal driving, you lift off and it brakes and it tries to regenerate. Great. But my car trundles around and it does 70 on a motorway, no faster. And it does 30 through towns, no faster. In Wales it'll do 20. If anyone from work's watching, always just below the speed limit to be sure. But I don't want a Formula One car to do that. I want these drivers to be on the limit, pushing at the limit, and sometimes going beyond it without hurting themselves. I suppose, to wrap up, and you've heard me waffle on, and I think you can quite clearly see, let's go more adventurous with the tyres, let's go, let's fix this engine problem, let's reduce the reliance. Without ruining the show, like Anthony said, like we've both said, the races are fun, but there's an over-reliance on this, and the super clipping, it's a bad image. There's even talk about the FIA actually hiding this super clipping, on Kimi Antonelli's pole lap in Japan. People were saying that he did reduce a lot more speed than they showed on their Halo dashboard, for want of a better word, on the onboard. And if they are masking it, that's pretty poor, isn't it? So to round up, Formula 1 2026, it might not be the pinnacle, but it's good fun. It's great fun. I've got a comparison for you in a minute, and people as old as me will hear it. Let's go more aggressive on the tyres, let's go more meaty on the engines, and let's give the drivers something to think about. That being said, if we can't do that, then let's just disqualify Mercedes. It'll be a better show anyway. You didn't think you'd get away with an episode without me doing one of them, did you? Who remembers touring car in the late 90s? Or super touring, as they were. The Mondeos, the Audi A4s. They were great fun, the racing. It was proper wheel-to-wheel stuff, and that's what Formula 1 is giving us. Problem is, no one thought the British Touring Car Series was the pinnacle of motorsport. I love Formula 1. I want it to come back to big barky engines and as fast as you can. Right now, that feels like it's a long way away. But the show has improved. It's just that it's not the pinnacle anymore. Let's hope the pinnacle returns. Anyway, that's all from me. I think Anthony's on his own next week, discussing something very important, very intriguing, and possibly getting us banned from there. So, check that one out, will you? Anyway, like and subscribe, give us a comment, let me know if you agree, disagree, let me know if there's anything you think should be improved. If not, this is me, over and out. Have a great week, guys.